Okay, so welcome. This is the Proficiency in My District presentation. So for those of you who haven't been to Proficiency Academy before, we try to highlight 3 different schools or school districts each summer who are sharing their path to proficiency. So having come to this academy, like we leave super pumped, and then September hits and reality sinks in, and what happens? So I think it's really important to sort of take this wonderful discussion in theory and then see what it looks like in practice. So that's our goal with these. So I'm really excited to welcome the Director of Global Languages from Melrose Public Schools, Kim Talbot.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. So I'm going to present Proficiency in My District on behalf of all of the language teachers in my district that you see up here. So Melrose is a tiny little hamlet in Middlesex County, way over there. Tiny little thing. That's where we are in Melrose. And we are a super small district. We have 28,000 residents in our community. And our middle school is a 6 through 8 middle school. And at the last count, there are about 850 kids, and that's before the 4th grade bubble hits us. Do you guys have bubbles in your district? Also 4th grade. Yeah, so 4th grade bubble hits us. And our high school is a 9 through 12 high school with about 1,000 students. We're super lucky in our district that we have come from a very strong language tradition, and we offer 5 languages: French, German, Italian, Latin, and Spanish. All 5 languages starting in grade 7 all the way through grade 12. In grade 6, we run this kind of crazy middle school. We're my middle school teachers. Yeah, we run this like trimester every other day, kind of explore like ceramics, French, gym kind of thing. And then in 7th grade, they choose and they do a half a year of language, and that's what they stay with all through high school. In 8th grade, it leads every day, 8 through 12. And we are a district with a 2-year high school requirement. So that's a little bit about us. I'm going to back up and say another thing is that our district has huge ideas and we love our kids, and we have a very, very small tax base. So all the professional development that we seek and have access to, we send 1 or 2 people out and then we bring that professional development back. Anybody else feel me out there? Yeah, okay, so that's us. So Proficiency Academy is amazing, but I have to tell you that it's also was nestled in this context of other stuff that was happening in Melrose at the time. So for example, we were just about to start with a program review. And so that sort of laid a little bit of the impetus there. We also were starting to explore in Melrose this idea of standards-based or competency-based education. Anybody there? Yep, awesome, because standards is proficiency, so that was great. And we sort of made that idea of personalized learning in Melrose, and here's a little infographic about that. And also around the same time, some of the areas around where I am formed a PLC. So the directors of Andover and Wilmington and North Reading and I were meeting pretty regularly to talk about like how to survive this job that we had as World Language Directors. And also at the same time, if maybe you remember, the Language Opportunity Coalition started piloting the Seal of Biliteracy. How many piloting districts out there? Yeah, so all of those things were happening exactly at the same time. Yep. So when I first came to Proficiency Academy, where we began in my district, we already had these performance-based common assessments, which was great. We had given up sort of the grammar vocab thing. We weren't really great at what this other thing was, but we're calling it performance-based assessments. We were already using a common rubric. NEASC had blown through our district. How many high school people out there? So you know what I mean, right? Everyone's nodding their heads, cameras, hands up there. And we were already used to calibrating student work. So we did that pretty regularly together to kind of be consistent with what we thought about kids and their work. And we also really liked each other. And we really loved our kids. And we had the sense that our kids can do anything if we were able to structure an environment that would let them. So then this happened. So the first Proficiency Academy, I came and I sat where you're sitting now, although I think we're in another room.
Yeah.
And I was blown away and totally inspired. I could not believe what I was hearing at this Proficiency Academy. It was like everything I had believed about why I was teaching and then had forgotten while I was teaching it. Do you know what I mean? You nod your head, right? So you know what I mean about that. So after this Proficiency Academy, I called my squad and I'm like, we need to do this for our districts. This is so incredible. We have to figure out a way to get all of our schools on board. So we together knew more than one of us alone, but we still didn't really know what we were doing. So we created some summer Proficiency PD in Melrose. Our district was very happy to sponsor it and offer it to other, to our partner schools. So we built this website to try to figure out what we were doing. We knew there were lots of moving pieces, and we kind of guessed that this might be what they were. But we really didn't know enough, and luckily, MaFLA had some great resources, these webinars that we were able to access and sort of give our departments this idea, a little taste about what proficiency really could be and what it really could mean for our districts. It was incredible. So then we made a plan. This is our motto: plan the work, work the plan. That's what we do. So of course, the first thing that we had to do was set our proficiency targets. Of course, now I know, now I'm in Thomas's session, and we're going to rename them to performance targets. So I've already done that on the website. So that was the first thing we did based on the information Greg gave us. If these are the courses that we're teaching, then these ought to be our targets. And after a couple of years, we actually renamed our courses. So that was the first part of the plan. And then I had a couple of teachers in the district who were already thinking about this, and they were like, we need a way to help everybody get on board. People who had been out for a year with babies or with elderly parents or who couldn't attend PD. We did some sort of resource that was static enough but able for us to update to keep everybody on board. So we built this website that we're adding to pretty regularly. Then the next part of the plan was this lesson document from MaFLA about the 6 core practices, which seemed reasonable to me. 6 is a reasonable number. We'll just do 2 a year, bang it out, and in 3 years, we're teaching for proficiency. So we made our action plan, which is up here, and you can see that we sort of bit off 2 practices a year with the rest of our program review action steps. And then, of course, we had to revise it for this year, so our 5-year plan is more like a 12-year plan. So this is where we are with our teaching for proficiency. So what do we look like now? We look like we are solid intermediate mad science, which means we look like a hot mess most of the time. There are some times when we are scraping at advanced and we are rocking it. And kids are speaking and teachers are happy and it is unbelievable. And there are some times when it is crickets, and those are our favorite times, right? Like the worst things happen, that's what we talk about at our common planning time. So how did we get there? Well, you've seen this model about change, and whether you're alone in your district, where are my lone wolves? I'm with you. I can sit with you at dinner if you want. So whether you're a lone person in your district, or whether you're the last person in your district, change happens and it's kind of slow, right? So luckily there were a couple of early adopters. I was able to hire a couple of more. But really, as we started to see what kids were able to do, this change happens so fast. Everybody is on board because it's great for kids, and it really strikes how we feel that all kids ought to be able to enjoy and love their language. So we started like this, right? All the ducks swimming around all over the place. And now I can safely say we're all in the proficiency pond. We're there. Everybody knows what's going on. They know what proficiency is, kind of, and some of the 6 practices that are really important to continue on. This is my dream. They're all going the same direction. Yeah, but we really don't look like that. So I don't want you to, I want to keep it real for you. So here are some things that I can say definitely happen with all of our teachers in our district. I can definitely say 90% target language use, teachers and kids, 100% I can say that. Also, you have a lot of authentic text and interpretive tasks going on. A lot by everybody. There's some communicative activities. And some of our curriculum documents are written in proficiency format, but not all. But there are definitely proficiency and performance descriptions in all of our classrooms, all the same. Somebody got this great resource from Teachers Pay Teachers. Some years we use ice cream scoops, some years we use like mad scientist things, but it's all over. Kids know what the targets are and what their class is all about and how to reach those levels. So some of our teachers have leveled up a little bit. Some of them use talk scores, thanks to Wellesley, for their interpersonal tasks. We have some PACE lessons going on. Some are spectacular failures. Who's failed a PACE lesson? Right? Like nothing fails like a failed PACE lesson. We have that going on. We have regular student reflection on proficiency levels. Beginning of the year, after most of our assessments, the kids reflect on where they're at and how they can be better. And for some teachers, lots of teachers, their grades are determined by their performance on standards or skills, and not on like homework. What did you bring tissues for class? We have a couple of teachers who are above and beyond, and this is what they say. They're progressing from thematic units that are still tied to the text toward independent units based on can-do statements with pragmatic vocabulary. Isn't that impressive? Like a teacher's like, this is what I'm doing, you have to say this. Yeah. And this is a big step for us, regularly assessing and giving feedback on interpretive tasks. That's really hard, right? but the teachers who are doing it well were noticing big differences. And daily, kids writing daily to text or to images, that's something that a couple of teachers are really getting some leverage out of. So when I walk through classrooms, what do I see? What do I hear? So I have this thing to say, and I'm going to say it quietly. Our textbook subscription ended. The world did not. And I never, ever thought that was going to happen. When I was down in Norwood, that's what you guys did, right? Jess and Cindy, they're like, we're just going to let it go. And I'm like, we can't just let it go. But we did. And you know what? It's fine. It's fine. No English ever. I walk through with building administrators. They are so amazed at how not English they hear in the classrooms. And more students are talking. And they're goal setting. And you can see it because when teachers give them feedback, the students are looking at the performance targets that are on the walls and figuring out what they need to do next. We have can-do statements everywhere. Proficiency descriptors are everywhere. And how many people came to MOPE this spring? So those were our kids. And 12 of them volunteered, 12 students volunteered to, like, on a Saturday in June to be interviewed by you. It's very nerve-wracking. And we actually had to pull two from the parking lot. Right? Do you remember that? I'm like, oh my God, this kid didn't show. There's a car wash out back. Let's just grab a kid. And two, I know, right? It's a Becky, right? Yeah. So it's a real thing that happened. And two kids came. So that's what proficiency is starting to look like in our district. And a lot of joy, right? Like that grind about textbooks and lists and the, oh my God, like that is so much less. People are, our teachers are happy in our classrooms, and so are our kiddos. So like, yep, that's what we look like. But I'm happy that we look like this because it means that we're growing and we're stretching, and our kids are happy. So here are some things that helped us be where we are. We have this Excel spreadsheet that has all the strategies at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it like that. So we feel like there ought to be, like we're crazy and all over the place, but there ought to be like a common set of stuff that we do, like instructional strategies that are really helpful. So we have those set up, and you can see a grid. We have it tied to our decaf and social emotional learning, and then we have them broken out on the bottom tab for the different core practices, and that's been really helpful for us. We also have taken a lot of time. We've jumped on board our grade school partnership and really helped to make those actual performance rubrics something that our kids and our teachers could really use for feedback. That's been helpful. And like the cheat sheet is really helpful, I'm not gonna lie. So this is agnostic tasks. So it's language agnostic, it's resource agnostic. We have 1,000 of these printed, and that way a teacher can find a great authentic resource and feel like they can use it and still have kids engaged in a meaningful activity. So we have lots of these little cheat sheets available. And we keep it all in Google Drive, so it's super fluid, and we're all able to access everybody else's items. And we have common planning time that kind of seals the deal for us. It really helps us to think about where we are and where our kids are, and keep going in the same direction. So what are our next steps? So we got to get going on documenting units, right? It's so hard because as soon as you put it on paper, you find 1,000 other ways to make it better. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like, who can get excited about documenting proficiency? I don't know, next slide. So, yeah, we're filming this though? Yeah. So the other thing we know we really need to focus on is our intermediate mid learners. We're looking at our data and we're like, we know we're more awesome than this data says, and so are our kids. We got to focus on our intermediate mids. And we think that we're going to be able to do that by giving them feedback in a way that's better. We just got to figure out what that looks like. Again, in time. And most importantly, we got to make sure that everybody's climbing the mountain together. We're on the same page. All right, here's the big finish. So yes, we all love each other in our department, but what we love more is our kids. And so we would not keep doing this really, really hard work if we can't see the success in our kids. Does that make sense? So here are our all-star kids, right? So this year, at the end of grade 8, 24 of our kiddos scored intermediate low in all domains, which is pretty awesome. We had 30 in our high school, scored intermediate mid, and Seal by Literacy 15 kids, including 3 ESL kids. It's awesome. But like, we're not just about the best kid. Teaching for proficiency is about all of your kids. It's about all of your kids. So these are quotes from 2 of our kids at the MOPE. This is what 9th graders who have been in language for a year and a half said about being interviewed by like 30 teachers looking just like you. Somebody said thank you. Are you kidding me on a Saturday in June? What is that? Here's our data. We gave the STAMP test, and I'm wrapping it up, I promise. So we gave the STAMP test, And after a year and a half of study, a composite language of all of our kids, all like 275 kids in 8th grade, and all means all for us, that's what that looks like. That's what that looks like. Nice. Yeah, they hit their, yeah, you can clap. So our middle school teachers took a big leap of faith and they're like, sure, we'll give the 8th graders a test, we'll count it as their final, we'll see what happens. So we're super excited we did that. Part of our action plan though was having seniors be tested in proficiency. So what you're looking at here is the first year we took the test. So remember, like Greg, oh my God, summer PD, figure it out, proficiency test, like that year. That's what's in black. And then 2019 is this year. So that's 4 years. Look at this.
Wow, wow, wow.
Those are the kids, seniors, all seniors who are in our programming, who are scoring at our target, which is a intermediate high. I know you're secretly clapping your head. We're so excited. Like that's what kids can do with the language. That's unbelievable for us. That's why we keep going. But even better is this number here. Yeah, so this number here are the kids who are scoring at novice seniors.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Right? So like you may not be at intermediate high when you leave us, but you're not at novice. Right? You can do stuff with the language, and isn't that what we're all about? That's what we want, right? Yeah. So that's what our journey looks like in Melrose. Oh, wait, one more thing. Seniors walk with their feet, right? So we know in language programming, seniors have a lot of options. In Melrose, they can also not come to school. They can get a period off. We have like 100 AP courses that they can take. But that's our percentage of kiddos, of seniors who stay in language programming, up 20% from before we started Proficiency.
Yeah.
Woo! So that's what Proficiency looks like in our district. It's math, science, it's birds flying everywhere, it's a hot mess, it's lots of not English, and it's lots of kids in our classes who are confident and able to do stuff with the language. So from us to you, my teachers are like, but you got to tell them this. So like, here's this. We're still learning and figuring it out. We're in different places in our journey and understanding, and it's okay. Meet teachers where they're at. That's for department chairs. I think they're talking to me now. Meet teachers where they're at. Provide appropriate support for teachers, right? And stay together. You love your kids. You're going to love this. So we're real. You can follow us on our journey. Here's our hashtags. You're not going to get the highlight reel. You're going to get how it actually is. You're going to get our hot messes. You're going to get our celebrations. And we hope that you follow us and that we can help you and you can help us as we continue in our path to proficiency.
If anyone has questions, you're welcome to raise your hand, stand up.
Could you talk a little bit about how Latin fits in?
Can I talk about how Latin fits in? Yeah, Latin is the flagship of our program. Our Latin teacher probably uses the most target language and the most authentic resources of any of our teachers. His kids are rock stars. He has kids after 3 years in language, scoring intermediate, mid, intermediate, high, or but they use that Alera test, so I4, I5. Latin, we teach Latin like a modern language. It is engaging, it is active, the kids are speaking, writing, reading, yep, all on. So you can call me, I'll hook you up with him. We broke up with AP.
Okay.
It's okay.
Do we get the AP exam? Students have the option of taking the AP exam.
But they're not teaching toward the AP exam.
No, we're using the AP themes. We still have an AP syllabus, but we have a partnership with 2 universities and we give dual enrollment credit for the hard work that all kids who deserve the hard work credit get. Not just the AP superstars, all kids who take 4 years deserve credit for that. Yeah, amen?
How do you best use your common planning time?
How do we best use our common planning time? So common planning time is really driven by teachers. So there are some teams that are really super productive about common planning time. And the teams that are productive set norms and they have an agenda that isn't the full 57 minutes, it's 50 minutes. So they can get there and get settled and leave. And our most effective teams set that agenda in advance that everybody contributes to. And they look at student work and they talk about things like, these are our can-do statements, what grammar and functions do kids need, and are we making sure that kids get the whole sequence? Those are our most high-functioning teams do that. questions.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the teacher code who wrote that they moved from thematic units to can do, I can't remember how it was, but it was
Sort of pragmatic, something, yeah.
and what that looks like or.
Well, we know what it looks like, right? There's birds flying everywhere. That's what that looks like. But it looks like she attended, actually, Rebecca, where are you, Rebecca? She attended Rebecca's thematic unit session at EDCO, right? And was completely inspired. So she took like the camping thing in her textbook and she was like, nope, kids aren't interested in that. And she started to move with topics and then with themes. So what she's talking about is she's really working on it. It's hard. She's got a little kid at home. She's got aging parents. So you can't do 6 units of 2 different classes all at the same time. So she's moving in that direction.
But it's not thematic units?
No, it's thematic units.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I misunderstood. Got it.
Yeah. So, what she was saying is that thematic units were tied to the text. So here's the thematic unit for BND, unit 3 to, this is, why are kids hungry, like that.
Got it.
Go ahead. I don't know, Catherine,
Yes.
is the slideshow going to be made available to everyone? I want to go back to our student data because that's like.
So can you say yes, we'll put them in the drop boxes?
Yes,
For
the
the
slides
district.
for all these presentations will be made available to you and put in the drop boxes with Proficiency Academy.
Do all students reach the proficiency targets at the end of the year, and what happens if they don't? They just go to the next level?
Oh, yeah. So Catherine says, repeat the question. So do all students reach the proficiency target at the end of each year? No, of course not. And what happens if they're not on the next level? We know that language learning is a continuum, right? So we try to figure it out. We've got a couple of strategies that I'll be happy to talk about. One is we figured that after intermediate low, that's a really hard target for super struggling learners to get. So they're supposed to get to there at the end of their freshman year for us after they've had middle school language. But we know that kids aren't there. We know if they don't get there, they're not going to have a lot of success. So we put a course there called Intermediate 1 with the same performance target of Intermediate Low. So that's one thing that we did. That's really helpful for those kids, and that's our all-in class. Like, do whatever it takes for those kids to get into the next level. Let them have confidence that they can move on to the next level. It's been really effective.
And if they go above the proficiency target?
Yeah, so we're all about, like, you ought to be where you're at. So there are students that come and say, this is way, way, way too easy for me, and we do the performance-based assessment that's at the end, and if they score in a range that's consistent with kids a year above, like, go be the best you, right? Also, I'll say that we have rubrics with a target, right? And the different levels, the target is different, right? So 3 is our target, for example. So they're all available on teachers' walls. So if you feel like you need a challenge, you grab it in the rubric. Oh, wrap it up. That's the wrap it up. But I'm available after this and also at dinner. And I really look forward to joining you on your journey as well. So thank you.
All right, we're going to flip back up again. So enjoy the rest of the day. Breakout rooms, where all the classrooms are just down that hallway. So they're within this building.
Yes.